when you garden, you've got to take care of it,
Hmm.
and so I'm glad to have something to reproduce that I can give away and that I can enjoy, and uh, so I've just mostly planted vegetables, but this year I'm going to do a lot of flowers.
I like that. That'll be pretty. I'm looking forward to it then. Coming over and seeing that. I know growing up, you always used to make us some pachatuli. And over the years, I've tried making some pachatuli on my own, but it's never as good as Mimi's pachatuli. Can you tell me the story of how that recipe came about and how in the world you came up with the name pachatuli?
Well, it's not my story, but it's a friend's story. When the boys were growing up, they were in Little League, and the uh, Little League program had to make money some way to be able to buy the equipment and to take care of any expenses they needed. I mean, they just had to have a source of income. So they created the Queen program in the Little League, and each team selected and had a queen uh, to represent their team.
Yeah.
And so uh, this particular year, one of our families uh, agreed to let their daughter be the queen of our team. Well, that queen had to come up with some source of income, she, some way to earn money. And we had such creative families, they just came up with these wonderful things. But our particular family, uh, I don't really know where uh, Mr. Lolly, where his family originated, uh, but he grew up in Tarrant, and he was raising his family there, and his son played ball, and the daughter was the queen. And so they came up with this dish that they made, this food dish, and they would make these huge pots and bring it to the ball field in the afternoon. And when people had come home from work, they'd just come to the ballpark and get their. That's what they'd have for dinner that night
That's
was
fun.
the food that he prepared, and everybody loved it, and it was a delicious food. It was more Hispanic than Italian. It was just really good, and it in my memory of it, the name was Pachacootie was the name he gave it, and so that's where it started from. But through the years, we've all loved it and we've enjoyed it, so we've continued to make it, and
Mm-hmm.
it takes on its own characteristics
That it does.
sometimes. When as you change, as you add your things, you just have to know how it tasted to begin with,
Yeah.
and just add your spices and everything to it. But it's a it's a good. It's very much like chili mac, but it's a sweeter. It has a sweeter taste,
Yeah.
but very good. And you keep trying. You keep trying to make it.
Oh yeah, well it's a staple in our house, but it's never as good as when you get it at Mimi's house though. Because you know what the original tasted like.
That's right.
Mine just doesn't compare. That's funny.
Well, a little bit of sugar.
A little sugar goes a long way,
Yes,
huh?
sir.
Yep. Oh man. Well, those are some fun questions. I got a couple a little not more intense, but just a little more involved questions here. One of them says, "Are there any areas of our world today that you wish hadn't changed from your own childhood?"
Yes, the biggest part of it, even though we still have a wonderful country, and our country is part of a wonderful world, even with as bad as things are, and uh, there's just so many things that the world started down the wrong path somewhere or other as technology increased, morality and uh, other things went down,
Yeah.
and so our lack of trusting God and putting our lives in His hands, people have gone away from it.
Yeah.
In doing so, it's caused the things that are not good in our world to take place.
Mm.
And I feel like a turning back to God would change that.
Yeah.
So I do. It makes me sad that I can think about how wonderful it was growing up, how peaceful and how uh, safe and all of the good things that just came about by righteousness. That growing up for me, and now I could not say that I feel that safe
Yeah.
in the world we live in now.
Yes, that's very true. Very, very true. And you kind of touched on the next one, which was about the technology increasing. Um, I mean, you touched on how the morality as it's increased, this technology has increased, that morality has decreased. But I mean, is there other areas of society that you see has been impacted by technology, whether good or bad? Then since you've lived through these years where the technology has boomed, and my generation and my kids' generation, they will never understand what it's like to not have technology.
Yeah, right.
You know, how do you compare what you knew without it versus now having it? What are the goods and the bads?
Well, children, as they grow up now, they don't. There's not a time that they're not aware
Hmm.
of the technology. Uh, they come in and they go to the refrigerator and they get something out of the refrigerator. But if they want to warm it, they put it in the microwave.
Yeah.
Well, the microwave was just no. Of course, it just had been invented,
Yeah.
and uh, but they immediately go and they've got even children have their iPhones, and they are constantly uh, looking at that iPhone,
Yeah.
or they're watching television, and all of those things are good. There's that's not bad. It's just that uh, they they're getting so much information coming to them that I wonder if they're able to really think for themselves. But then I look at my great grands, and they are so smart. I know that they're gaining knowledge as they're
Yeah.
doing this. So I won't say that's bad. But I just know that there was we didn't have TV,
Yeah.
and so we played outside, and we did, you know, if it was raining, we played inside. We didn't have a television to watch, and
Yeah.
we did eating, and it was, but a lot is more about how you felt within yourself, the joy and the peace and the uh, just life itself gave you.
Yeah.
It was a sense of uh, belonging and a sense of uh, it was just comfortable. Life was just comfortable.
Yeah.
Now, but I grew up in a very stable family and very good parents that honored, loved the Lord, and so I don't know that my life was any different, but my friends' lives were like mine.
Yeah.
We did not have a whole lot of stuff, but we were happy.
Yeah. Sometimes the best gifts I can give my kids are a stick in the yard. Give them a box. They're happy.
Hey, that's true. Give them
It's
a talk.
yeah, it's very true, but I don't know. I don't want to say that society is brainwashed now that we have to, constantly entertain the kids, but sometimes just some dirt and a stick and a little bucket go a long way.
They will find a way to do something
That, yes.
that stirs their creativity.
I agree. I agree. Walking through that with our young ones right now. Oh yeah. Get them away from the TV. Oh man. I got two more for you. So one of them's kind of silly, but I'm just curious. One of my favorite things through, elementary and high school were the the decade dances is what they called them, where we'd dress up 1950s poodle skirts and the slick back hair for the guys, and then you know for 70s decade we would do tie-dye and disco. Like, is that truly what the decades were like, or is that just an over exaggerated view? Like, what truly was it like to be young during those years?
Honey, during the time of the poodle skirt and the bobby sock, oh, it was real. I mean, people wore it.
Yeah.
It was, uh, I mean, it was just like today. There is the fashion of the day. People wear it,
Yeah.
and they don't think it. They're not trying to make a statement. I don't think. And back then, it was just a fashion statement, and the hair and. But one of the things that just always was so uh, funny to me was I was in high school and the bobby sock.
Mhm.
Well, they would cut off the tops of the bobby sock, and I mean, of the socks, the girls would, and they would have 2 or 3 pair of socks that they would put on with their their socks that they were going to wear to make the top stick out. And I mean, that was just so funny, was to see the girls that really tried to make their socks to be real poofy.
That's
now,
funny.
The smaller their legs, the bigger the puff. And, you know, most of the fashion, I'll say, or most of the girls that did it, just about all the girls would put one or two pairs of socks, but they didn't go to the extreme.
Yeah.
There were some that went to the extreme, and with it was the poodle skirt.
Yeah.
All the girls didn't have a poodle skirt per se, but they had a skirt that was full.
Right.
And it had the style of the poodle skirt, but it didn't have the poodle on it. Most girls in my area couldn't buy that.
Yeah.
So, but the fashion changes came as things changed in the world, and especially the music world.
Right.
As you see, the rock people, the rock coming in, it came in my lifetime, and you could see the changes in not only fashion but behavior. You could see, and I guess that would be the beginning of the world beginning to change. That I could see.
Yeah.
So because with the change of season, the change of clothing, the change of music, came the change of behavior. You saw more people expressing themselves in different ways.
Yeah.
So anyway, I don't know if that helped.
Well, it definitely gives insight, because I never would have, put those two things together. They just, I didn't walk through it. I didn't experience that, but from your perspective, that's an interesting eye opener. Of just
looking back on it is, like they say, hindsight's better than
right.
As you look back, you see things that you didn't notice when you were going through it.
Yeah.
It happened day by day, not a leap forward. It happened, and you gradually moved into a different era and a different lifestyle.
Yeah. I just have one other little quick question for you.
Okay.
If you could pass on any piece of wisdom, I've seen interviews done before where somebody's 103 years old and they say, what's the secret to a long life? Or any kind of piece of wisdom that you want to pass on. Is there any little nugget that you'd like to share?
I sure would. The thing that I would say to everybody is, seek ye first the kingdom of God and His righteousness, and all the other things of the world will come to you. Those things that are important. I cannot emphasize that enough. That is seeking the Lord and His direction in your life.
Absolutely.
In Him. Because He will not lead us in the wrong direction. So just seek our Heavenly Father, and He'll show us the way.
Yes, ma'am. Very, very true. I love it. Well, that's all the questions that I had for today. Thank you so much.
Well, I enjoyed answering them. I don't know if there was any wisdom in it, but
Well,
I, I trusted if you got stuck, or anybody that would hear this would get something.
I believe so. Got a little fun, got a little not political, but you know, little world perspective. Well, thank you very much. I'm gonna pause my video here. Give me just a second.